Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Would someone from council be willing to read the acknowledgement today?
I'll read.
Who's that?
Myself, Carl.
Okay, thank you.
We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose first steps have marked these lands for centuries.
Great, thank you. So on the agenda, I'm seeing no public hearing. Is there any additions or deletions or changes to the agenda?
Nothing from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Would there be a motion coming from someone on council, please, to adopt the agenda as presented then?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor George.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Hearing none, everybody say aye. Who's in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you. This evening, we're fortunate we have the ever resilient, hardworking Jill Yanch that represents our town so well, presenting Resilient Rural. Jill's online with us.
She's, oh, there we go. Jill, do you want to try sharing your screen? I gave you permission.
No, I don't think I need to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think I need to. I'm just going to chat with everybody. So, hi, everybody. It's good to see you again in this kind of strange virtual situation. So, I'm just going to give you an update on Resilient Rurals, and I'm sure that you're aware what Resilient Rurals is, but just for anybody who's watching, Resilient Rurals is a partnership between the towns of Bruderheim, Gibbons, and Lamont. And we're working together on a regional climate change adaptation plan. We're taking a strong focus on resilience and a different approach, looking at it a little more holistically rather than just environment and climate. We're looking at other factors that will affect municipalities. We also want to try and figure out what climate change adaptation and resilience looks like for smaller communities. Much of the work that has been done in relation to climate change adaptation has been done in cities. So the smaller communities and rural settings is a bit of a newer thing. So we're looking at what that means for us. So I just wanted to touch on two documents tonight a little bit to give you an update. So we have a report to the community that's just kind of summarized the work that we've done up to this point, and also the survey summary report. So we did surveys earlier this year, we wrapped up, and we did staff surveys, resident surveys, and youth surveys. So to this point, we've had some interviews and meetings in each of our three communities, and we've chatted with staff and worked through a number of those factors that influence municipalities and our ability to respond to different things. And then, as I said, we did those surveys. And so we've compiled all the information from the staff interviews and the surveys to define what our priorities are moving forward with our regional plan. And we've defined so far some environmental and climate priorities, social priorities as well, and also some business continuity priorities. And we're going to use communications as kind of an umbrella tool to approach those priorities. I think communications will be a really powerful thing for smaller communities, keeping our residents informed ahead of time of different risks, different things that they can do to, to be more resilient in certain situations can benefit a lot. Communications, the research that I've done shows that communications with residents, when we have informed residents, that resilience is really strengthened. And so we are making some headway on our regional plan. We've got a communications plan set up to touch on all those items in our priorities. And we'll also be completing a networking plan. So that will help us to reach out to other communities and other organizations, potentially universities, those types of things. I've already been in touch with a few different organizations. And so, you know, we can move forward looking into different possibilities for partnerships there. And also an implementation plan. So we're going to look at how we can work to integrate these priorities into our day-to-day work and make it more of a simpler approach. And then moving on to the survey, the findings that we had through that, we found that all communities, generally residents, had a pretty strong sense of community, which is really important in times as we're seeing now with COVID. We've been really impressed and happy to see a lot of positive response from residents. That sense of community is really, really important. We also see that people care about the environment, and they do think that our community is thinking about how climate change can impact our communities and municipal services. We found that people feel most prepared for severe storms and drought, but less prepared for things like evacuations, and something like chemical spill and chemical release, which is in our area in Alberta's industrial heartland. We also found how some residents are prepared. So most people have, you know, batteries and flashlights and a first aid kit, but they may not have an understanding of their children's schools, response plans to, you know, to specific emergencies, or have a communication plan with their members of their family. We also found where some of our vulnerabilities are, so our vulnerable populations. So, you know, to gauge how many people we have that have issues or are sensitive to heat and air quality, that type of thing. And one thing that I just wanted to make note about was mental health did show up in all three communities as a bigger factor than I was expecting. So that's something that I think that we would be smart to focus on. And I think that that's really highlighted with COVID and what we're going through right now, that mental health piece is important. And then just some highlights on some things that are a little bit more recent that we've been working on, some more exciting things. In February, we were featured live in studio and CBC radio. So that was a really fun way to get some exposure for our communities. We also presented to the ASSIST group. That's the Alberta Saskatchewan Incident Support Team, and that was in Saskatchewan. I've been approached by some contacts in the Alberta government, and they're considering our project as a case study for some teaching materials that we're doing for other communities in the province.
That's great.
Very exciting, so I'm interested to see where that's going to go. We completed 2 webinars last month. One was with Dr. Eric Bremer. He did that on intercropping. And then the second one was with Aaron Daly of the University of Alberta. And those webinars are available on the Resilient Rural's website. We partnered with Rural Roots to Climate Solutions on that, which is an organization there. They're more southern Alberta, but they're doing some really interesting stuff. And they actually approached me initially, so we met with them and chatted on how we might be able to partner with them. We have another upcoming grant that I'm hoping to get some funding for that communication umbrella and that communications plan, so we can get some communication materials and cover over our priorities. And we've also had a fair bit of interest from other communities and just, you know, individuals in the area and in other areas of the province. I get phone calls and emails and whatnot. So there is interest, and I think that it's because we're doing that, taking the approach to the rural and small communities, and it's not really been capitalized on yet. So I think that we're doing some really exciting stuff. So that covers my updates on those documents. And does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from council? Councillor Wayne, Councillor Pat?
Jill?
Yep.
Is this been presented to the other
Can't, sorry, Councillor Pat, you must be muted. I can't hear you.
Mute.
There you go.
All right, Jill, has this been presented to the other councillors in Gibbons and Lamont?
It has been with Lamont, and I'm not quite sure what Gibbons is doing with it at this point.
All right, thanks.
Councillor Wayne?
No, I'm good. I just want to say thank you for all the work. Truly appreciate it.
Very much. I'm really excited about the project, and very grateful to council and to administration for being so supportive and progressive in my mind that to allow me to do the project and take it forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Jill? Just echoing what Councillor Judy.
Yeah, so I was looking at your results there from your survey, and the communication is one of those big factors. So is that the game plan as you go forward to figure out how we can get better communication out there?
Yes, yeah. Communication is going to be a really big one, partly because, with limited resources, it's a challenge with some of these risks. Cities have more funding and more opportunities to do larger scale projects where I think communications is going to be a really powerful tool for us because it's on the lower cost end, and we can be really thorough with it and really aggressive and get a lot of information out there to both staff and to residents.
And so the other question is, do our towns that we are working with, I think Redwater and Lamont, no, Gibbons and
Lamont, yeah.
Gibbons and Lamont, have they got a system in similar to our alert system?
I believe Lamont does. I'm not sure if Gibbons, I'm just trying to remember with our research. I believe Lamont does. Patty may know.
Actually, the town of Lamont doesn't. They're under the county of Lamont, and Gibbons does as well.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I must have had them switched.
Interesting.
Jill,
Just hold on. Somebody needs to mute their mic. We're getting terrible feedback from somewhere. Okay, go ahead, Councillor George.
Jill, moving forward, what is your next focal point in this, moving forward in the program of community, rural resilience?
Our next steps will be to pull all of the work together that we've done and create that regional plan, which will include our priorities and a plan for communication and a plan for networking with other communities and a plan for implementing it, the regional plan. And then once that plan is in place, then we can continue conversations with Gibbons and Lamont and see if there are opportunities to share resources or embark on other projects, anything like that. So that regional adaptation plan is going to be that kind of that first step that will get us to a point where we can then apply for funding, or we can further conversations about partnering on different.
Do you have a timeline for this project?
Yes, so our grant funding for the regional plan ends in September. They may give us a little bit of an extension. I'm hoping. I think that we will be able to get it done by the end of September. We did have to put a fair bit of work on hold just with COVID to deal with that. So a couple of our meetings got canceled, and so that we could address COVID in our own communities. And so I'm trying to play catch up with that, but I think that we will be able to have it complete by the end of September.
Thank you ever so much for the effort and time that you've put into this project. I hope it's successful in the coming months and continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor George. Any other comments or questions from council? Hearing none, I just wanted to touch base with you, Jill. It was mentioned by Deputy Mayor about communication. I believe communication is a really big key. And just wondering what kind of feedback on our communication that we're using in social media like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram as well. Have you been getting feedback about the resilient real rules from that at all?
Yeah, we are seeing feedback. Generally, the feedback that I'm seeing is from other areas in the province. So I'll have other people get in touch with me from seeing us on social media. So that way we're getting feedback. And in terms of the exposure to our residents and our communities, I'm not totally sure yet. I'm using Bruderheim's social media platforms to amplify Resilient Rural's social media platforms. So I'll be able to gauge, how many of our residents are seeing information that way. But when we did our survey, we did ask what was the best method for us to get information to residents. And so some of them was, newsletter and social media and that type of thing. So through that survey information, we'll be able to target that information, hopefully in the best way to get that information out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jill. You bring so much passion and dedication to your work. It's really a credit for our community that you're doing this work for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Is
much.
there any other comments or questions from council for Jill in their presentation?
I guess I have one question. So your page on Facebook, can we help you out with that so that you get more people following that to enhance that communication? Any suggestions?
Yeah, and that will come as part of our communications plan. So far, I've just been using the social media platforms to get information out about the surveys and that type of thing, so that we could gather that information. But in terms of advertising the project, that hasn't been my focus yet, but it will be when we look at our communications plan. And yeah, absolutely, I think that we'll come up with some ways to increase that exposure.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from council? Touching on social media, in general, Jill, what do you think is the most effective so far that the town uses? The website, or is it a combination of things?
Yeah, the website, actually, it often surprises me how many visitors we get and the number of hits on different links and that kind of thing. I believe our website is very useful to our residents or to whoever's looking at it, whether it's our visitors or residents, that type of thing. In terms of social media, it's hard to say because they each target different groups. So Twitter tends to be more municipal business type audience. Facebook, I find, may reach residents more, and same with Instagram. I feel like Instagram is more resident focused. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to delineate who we're reaching through social media, because unless we're familiar with the names of the residents or the people that are involved, sometimes it's hard to tell whether they're from our community or not. But yeah, I think that social media definitely is helpful in communications for our town, yes.
Okay, great. And so social media use of Facebook, for example, in these council meetings, it's looking like it's reaching a lot of people. I'm thinking this might be something that we should be doing all the time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so far, I think that it's been a positive thing. And that's definitely something that you can examine and review for the future.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Jill? Thank you very much, Jill. So very much appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, have a good evening, and you're welcome to watch us online.
Yeah, no, I'm going to continue on with the meeting, so.
Okay, great. So we need a motion from council to accept Jill's presentation on resilient rural as information.
I can do that.
Councilor Pat,
I move that town council accept the resilient rural presentation from Jillian, resilient rural project manager as presented.
great. Thank you for that, Councilor Pat. Any other comments or questions on that motion from council? Okay, haven't heard none. We'll call for a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
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 And anyone opposed? No, that's great. Motion's carried. Thanks a lot, Jill. Next item on our agenda is a proclamation, National Drowning Prevention Week proclamation. I was surprised to hear how many people pass away from drowning in our province. And so I'll just read the proclamation. National Drowning Prevention Week proclamation. Whereas the mission of the Life Saving Society Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in Alberta is one too many. And whereas most drownings are preventable in a water smart community, and only through water smart education and a healthy respect for the potential danger that any body of water may present, can we truly enjoy the beauty and recreation opportunities offered by these bodies of water. And whereas the Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of Bruderheim to supervise children who are in and around water to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages while participating in aquatic activities, and to wear a personal flotation device or life jacket at all times when boating. And whereas the Life Saving Society Canada has declared July 19th to 25, 2020 National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problem and the hundreds of lives that could be saved this year. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Carl Hope, do hereby proclaim July 19th to 25, 2020 National Drowning Prevention Week in Bruderheim, Alberta, and do commend its thoughtful recognition to all citizens of our Bruderheim, Alberta, dated this 8th day of July 2020, and I'll sign that off for our administration. So we've covered that. Thank you very much for listening to me, and now we will move to adopt the minutes of the June 17th meeting. Looking for someone from council to make that motion.
Make a motion to adopt the minutes from June 17th, 2020, regular meeting of council.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Any comments or questions or concerns from council on that motion? Everyone's had a chance to read the minutes, sounds like. Okay, looking for a motion or looking for a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
None opposed, and the motion's carried. Council priorities, information requests. So I'll start at the bottom here on my screen. Councillor Dan, any information requests?
Yes. I was curious if administration by chance had costs for visibility for yield signs at the intersection of 50th and 50th.
I think you meant stop signs, right?
Negative.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, through Council Schools, well, we don't have the exact cost right now. We are going to be ordering visibility tapes for that intersection as recommended by the traffic engineers to try first. And I believe your other question was about flashing lights. We don't have that cost yet, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Dan. Anything else?
Oh, no, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Pat.
Yes, actually, I do have a concern. It is residents on 48th Avenue between the 49th and 50th Street blocks. About 5 years ago, a town snowplow had knocked over the speed sign on the south side of 48th Avenue. That sign was never replaced. And the residents down that stretch feel that motorists on that stretch are getting heavier on the gas as they come through there. So it's a time thing that they've been waiting, and there's no installing that speed sign that was knocked over.
So, Mr. Mayor, we don't put speed signs up in residential area. I'll have to look into that one. I'm not sure why it was there in the first place.
Well, that's
Do you
that
have
one
an
on
exact location, Councillor Pat?
48th Avenue between it's on the south side of the avenue.
And it was
And there
facing,
Well, the traffic coming on 48, coming around that corner there. So apparently there was at one time, and it had got knocked down. And they were doing snow grader, so never replaced. And speed seemed to be getting a bit more around that stretch for residents.
thank you for that, Councillor Pat. CAO Patty, do you need any more information on that?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'll look into the location, but we don't post speed signs in residential areas, so I will follow up. See if I can find some history on it.
Okay, so any speed signs in town are not put there by the town?
We don't have speed signs inside residential areas.
Okay.
Well, it would be interesting to hear the history on this one.
Yeah, I'll have to
Oh,
look
yeah.
into it, Mr. Mayor. Let's see.
Okay,
But
thank
we,
you.
5 years ago, must be over 5 years then, Councillor Lee, do you think that it's been?
The residents I talked to is around 6 years ago, and they were waiting just for it to pop back up, but never did happen.
Because I did a sign inventory and it wasn't there 5 years ago. So I'll have to see. I'll get back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Anything else?
That was it, thanks.
Councillor Wayne?
No, actually, I just, one thing, I just want to say that for the last little while, I've been driving around town, just take a look at things. And I just want to commend Public Works for the way the town looks. It looks really good out there, considering, there's lots of rain in the last little while, but the town looks amazing. And I just want to say thank you to them, and just keep them a good big pat on the back if you see them. So just want to say a big thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Deputy Mayor Judy?
Couple things. Wondering if we can put it into the budget next year. Those black spruce trees that put the fuzz all over. For the longest time, I know we were trying to get them out of people's yards. Now I noticed we've got 3 or 4 right by the outside ice rink there. There's some way that we could get those things cut down, because when it's allergy season, I don't know about you guys, but I'm dying. And I'm not even close to that place. So I was driving around town, and it looks like they're the only ones left in town. Is about 4 or 5. Just something to see if that's possible. Thanks, Patty.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Do you need any more direction, CAO Patty?
No, you think, Mr. Mayor? I'll check into that.
Okay. Anything else, Deputy Mayor?
No, that's everything. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Len?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Len. I believe you said you have nothing at this time. Thank you. Move on to Councillor George.
Nothing at this time.
George, your mic is muted.
My land.
There you go. Thank you.
Anyway, I'd like to thank administration for the great jobs that they do in keeping our town going. That's all the comments I have to say.
Thank you very much, Councillor George. At this time, I have one concern for a resident to bring forward. I forwarded the email from the resident. Initially, him and his wife had sent their concern on Facebook Messenger to me, and I asked them to put it on email, and they emailed it to me, and I forwarded it to all of council and our CAO Patty. The resident lives where a back alley backs onto his property, and there is no other homes on the other side. In fact, it's slope down to waterway, and he feels that the grading of the back alley is grading towards his property, which is causing water damage on his property. And so you'll see that email. And at the same time, the same resident is asking if the sidewalks in his area, and specifically in front of his home, he says is in very poor condition, if they could be looked at for assessment and possibly repairs this year as we are moving forward with sidewalk repairs. Just want to ensure that the concern is registered with administration on the list.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have it.
Thank you. And I believe in the email it documents the resident's address. I didn't want to put that out on the public at this time. And I just wanted to say a commendation. Thank you, Councillor Wayne, for stepping out on the positive side. The skateboard park painting looks amazing. That's part of the project work still that wasn't completed from last year. Is that right, CIO Patty?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, that was, I contracted him last fall, but unfortunately the weather beat us, so.
Yep. So we had our famous skateboard park, Jeff, who's a big supporter of the skateboard park, help out with that a little bit.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if it was up to me, I would have painted the whole thing, and I know nothing about skateboarding, and Jeff was kind enough to say where we could and couldn't paint.
Yeah,
So it was awesome.
amazing. Thank you very much. Thanks, kudos to skateboard champion Jeff for that input. So if there's no other information requests, we'll move on to program requests, and we'll go backwards this time. Councillor George, do you have any program requests?
No, nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Len?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Pat?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Wayne?
Well, just to let you know that regards to soccer this year for minor sports, there won't be any soccer this year. It has been canceled due to everything that's been going on. So other than that, that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Deputy Mayor Judy?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, and Councillor Dan?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other program requests, I do have one thing I wanted to bring up, if I may. I know of a recreation group, a recreation hockey group of men that play in the fort last year, and they wanted to play in the fort this year. They wanted to start in July here, I believe July 17th on a Friday in the fort. The list of conditions that the city put on them, they found it untenable, and they're not moving ahead with playing that hockey. And I'm concerned that we make sure that we have a plan going forward for our arena use coming this fall. And I just wanted to bring that forward as a concern for the program end of things.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just speak to one question from last week.
Yep.
Council asked for a map of where all the sidewalk work is going to be done. Unfortunately, we just awarded the contract this week to O'Hanlon, and we haven't got the map available, but as soon as it is, I will share with council.
Great, thank you very much. Is there any other program requests before we move on? No, okay, then we can move on to request for decision 8.1 quarterly management report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration would like to provide council with the management report, which includes the financial status report as of March 31st, 2020. The town council accept the management report and the first quarter financial update as information. Council receives these reports quarterly for their review. Legislative and legal impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 268.1B. The actual revenues and expenditures of municipality compared with the estimates in the operating capital budget approved by council are reported to council as often as council directs. Summary, administration reviewed the financial results as of March 31st, 2020 and is providing council with a status report. Operations are on track with revenue amounts of $448,219 to March 31st and expenses of $608,129. Approved capital budget totals $524,000 and projects that have been paid to March 31st total $80,947 with a budget remaining of about $443,053. As of March 31st, the town bank account balance is $753,121. Long-term debt debentures are held on a wheel loader, fire hall, and the 2017 street improvement program. Total repayment in 2020 is $102,870. This debt agrees with the principles of ensuring future residents pay their shares for critical service assets. Once approved, share information with all the directors. We've attached the income statement, the department variance report, the capital budget variance report, and the statement of reserves.
So I'm looking for a motion to council approve the or accept the management report and first quarter financial update as information.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I make a motion that town council accepts the management report and the first quarter financial update as information as presented.
Thank you, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Somebody must have a question. I'll get the pump primed, so to speak. CEO Patty, we're into July now, and I know this is the first quarter financial report. How are we making out? Did we have to dip into the line of credit?
Mr. Mayor, no, we did not have to. Again, this is for first quarter end of March. We don't have the reporting to the end of June, but our forecast is that we are on target with our monthly variance and we won't have to use our line of credit.
That's good news. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments from council?
Statement of revenue. How is our revenue coming in? Fairly good with our taxes and utility bills and stuff like that?
So, Mr. Mayor, we only have a few people that signed up for the utility deferrals, and I'll be sharing with council the status of our taxes and unpaid contracts and later on.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mayor Carl.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I see we've got what we budgeted there for the town office wall. How is that coming along? Are they finding all the problems, or I've seen them back there on the weekend doing some more there? Are we getting all those problems solved?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor Schuler, yes, they believe that they've found all the problems. There's still some work to do in the library. But as far as the administration office, they believe that they have everything. There's a little bit of ceiling to do on the inside, along the bottom, and a little bit of carpet work, but they believe that they have found the issue.
So with all the rain we've got right now, you've got nothing wet inside?
Deputy Mayor, no, we have not got any water on the inside through that window. So council knows they replaced the window and some of the mortar on the inside, and as well put a barrier between the mortar and the inside office. And some of the water had leaked from that window into the library, so they're going to work on that mortar. And some of the carpet was affected in the office and in the spare office as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. Councillor George.
Yes, when I look at your CEO report, I noticed there's roof leaks. Do we have money in the budget to fix them problems?
Councillor George, that would be a question to ask during the CAO report.
Then I will do that. Sorry.
Thank you. No problem. Thanks. Anybody else have a question regarding this particular report? Looks pretty straightforward, and I guess so. We'll call for a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you. Next is 8.2, line of credit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Administration was asked to provide council with a line of credit policy. The town council approved the line of credit policy, FIN 101. Bylaw 07-2020 line of credit borrowing bylaw was passed by council on May 20th, 2020. At the June 3rd, 2020 meeting of council, there was a request from council for a policy to be brought forward clarifying that the line of credit transaction must be ratified by council. Strategic plan areas, the community is educated on responsibility and limitations of council administration. Other impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 259, as noted in the bylaw 07-2020. This policy will be reviewed in June 2021, at which time administration or council can recommend changes to the policy. Upon council approval of the line of credit, information will be shared with all staff.
Thank you. Short and sweet. Looking for a motion from council.
I'll bring that forward.
Councillor Pat.
I move that town council approve the line of credit policy FIN-101.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council on this motion? Councillor Wayne.
Am I reading this right, saying it's only used for emergency uses? Is that correct?
So, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Lecco, it basically all that this policy says is that I have to come to council for any use. So it doesn't say emergency anywhere.
Well, it does say when emergencies arise, so I'm just wondering if it's just, if it means just emergencies or for as council or administration deem necessary.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that just could be one of the reasons, for example. So I think we talked about a little bit, for example, if the Zamboni broke down in the middle of the season and we don't line up with the opportunity to lend money, as you know, municipalities can only do that twice a year, then that would be deemed an emergent situation, right? So not necessarily an emergency, but.
Okay. I guess I'm not, like I said before, I'm not against this whole line of credit. I just want to make sure that going forward used, we have a method to pay it back that's already pre-planned kind of thing, right? I just don't want to be stuck with a big bill thinking, how are we going to pay this now? Does that make sense?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that's a question every time we borrow money, whether it's for the street improvement program or if it's matching funds for a grant. Council's got a responsibility to make sure we can pay that back, and administration has to show how would you do that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why council asked for a policy, even though I can't spend money that's not in the budget, I would have to come to council anyways, right?
Okay, no, fair enough. Thank you.
And if I may, Councillor or Mayor Carl, so if, using your example, Patty, if the Zamboni broke down and we give you the authorization to borrow it, somewhere along the line, we'd have to take it out of probably a reserve or something like that in order to look after it, right?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, that's an excellent, because some of our funds are locked for 30, 60, 90 days, and we don't just leave them in the bank waiting to be used. So if there was a reserve account with a substantial account like Zamboni is $250,000, we wouldn't just leave that there in a account that's not gaining interest, right? So it might be locked for 90 days, and when administration would come to council and say, let's use the line of credit, and in 90 days we will cash that note in, because it makes more sense paying the penalty than the interest that we would pay above prime, for an example.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Or we could have a tornado or windstorm touchdown, and I come to council and say, I believe that there's an opportunity to apply for some funding through the province, but we need to get this town moving again and get infrastructure up and running. We can use the line of credit. So that would be the emergency. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions from council on this? I just wanted to go back to something that Councillor Wayne said. So touching on the idea of how to pay it back, would it be prudent to put in some verbiage on also presenting to council at the same time when asking for the line of credit to be used on the method of planned,
repayment,
paying it back?
So, Mr. Mayor, anytime that administration comes to council about using funds, whether it's borrowing from the bank or AFC or line of credit, we would have to, we'd have to tell you. We wouldn't, I mean, I can write it in, but it's redundant.
Is that mandated in the MGA, or where do we find that?
Yeah, administration always has to provide council with a balanced budget, which includes how we fund things. So, right? You can't say we're just gonna borrow money and we have no way of knowing how we're gonna pay it back. But we could add that, Mr. Mayor, if that makes council feel more comfortable.
I don't know what the thoughts of the rest of council is on that.
I think if it's in the MGA and whatnot, I don't think it's necessary to put it in there. I mean, in the past, we've never had issues with questioning where it's coming from. I just want to make sure going forward that we don't have that issue, right? So, but I don't think it's necessary to put it in if it's already written in MGA.
So, Mr.
Thank you for
Mayor,
that.
number 2 says,
iPad went,
oops, sorry.
yeah, no, my iPad went blank there for a second. Sorry. You go ahead.
So it says in the guidelines that all line of credit transactions will be administered in accordance with current municipal policies and the public sector accounting standards. And the reporting will occur through the quarterly management report. And as you notice, we just reported on our debt. And that would also be reflected if we had line of credit debt as well, right? So it still follows all the same policies that we currently have.
Yep.
But it also states that roles and responsibilities go back to the financial services, so that covers the whole thing.
I think it's just, something brand new. So I just want to make sure that there's an understanding of how it's going to work and going forward. That's all. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? I just wanted to go back to a comment you made, Pat, that I didn't quite catch exactly what you were saying. You said something about 2 times a year.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you noticed our newly elected government has done away with, when we used to borrow from the Alberta Finance Authority. Our present government is doing away with that. And there's only 2 times a year, though, that we can apply for that funding. So we can't just as residents, we can just go to the bank day of the week and ask to borrow some money. Municipalities only have that opportunity twice a year.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clarification. Appreciate that. If there's no other comments or questions or concerns with this motion, we'll call for a vote then. All those in favor? Please say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed, and the motion's carried. Moving on, we've got 8.3 Bruderheim Community Investment Program.
Mr. Mayor, I just see we're having trouble with our network here, so hopefully we don't lose you. I might just ask one of the councillors to, oh, there we go. We got it back. I was just going to ask somebody to turn the video off. Bruderheim Community Investment Program to provide council with information on the impact of COVID-19 for nonprofit organizations with Bruderheim. The Town Council approved this one-time flexibility to utilize the Bruderheim Community Investment Program to provide nonprofit organizations within the town of Bruderheim the opportunity to apply to the Community Investment Program by September 1st, 2020 for costs associated with COVID-19 requirements. The Bruderheim Community Investment Program revised was approved by Council on May 1st, 2019 for the 2020 budget year. The Bruderheim Community Investment Program presently has $5,000 available. In order to qualify for funding, organizations must be a registered nonprofit or registered society, business, or group of individuals applying for a one-time event or project. Be community-based, not receive more than 75% of their annual operating funding from the town of Bruderheim. Bruderheim Community Investment Program shall only be used for events or goods that will provide services town of Bruderheim. Bruderheim Community Investment Program will not be used to support operating budget deficit for events that are held outside the town or support travel expenses. For programs or services provided religious or religious affiliated organizations, unless clearly demonstrated the program is open to a non-member, is not a religious program and does not promote the religion for any purpose other than a public purpose and may not support political activities or private interests. Due to COVID-19, our nonprofit organizations were not able to offer event programming to bring in revenue to cover their costs and to continue meeting their facility requirements. COVID-19 requirements required the organization find ways to purchase and use technology to host meetings, offer events, programming, and purchase cleaning supplies, masks, gloves, etc. that would not normally be required to have their members or public within their facility or programs and activities. Strategic plan areas, the community is educated on responsibility and limitation of council and administration. Other impacts, COVID-19 federal and provincial requirements. This is an opportunity to support our nonprofit organizations that have provided countless volunteer hours and donations to offer programming events in our community during a time when they are faced with economic challenges and they need to revisit how they provide services now and into the future. If approved, the council administration will contact the nonprofits in Bruderheim to explain this one-time change to the Bruderheim Community Investment Program and the opportunity to make adjustments to revisit their sustainability and what program events would look going forward following COVID-19 requirements.
Thank you for that, CAO Pat. You're looking for a motion from council for this?
I can make that, Mayor Carl.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
The town council approved this one-time flexibility to utilize the Bruderheim Community Investment Program to provide the nonprofit organizations within the town of Bruderheim the opportunity to apply to the Bruderheim Community Investment Programs for costs associated with COVID-19 requirements.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion?
I have a couple comments, Mayor. I don't feel that it's necessary for council because it's already revised the Bruderheim Community Investment Program reapplication dates and what the funds can be used for. The opportunity already exists within the present policy, which allows for costs an organization would utilize in regards to COVID-related PPP and sanitizing supplies. The policy in place right now has in it on our strategic goals. One of the points is the facilities and activities that are available, accessible, used by residents. Another one is provide a climate of safety for individuals. So we've already encompassed that in this policy. So why rewrite it or change it or do anything with it?
Any response from CAO?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, presently they're not allowed to use the Community Investment Program money for any sort of operating budget expenditures or any upgrades to technical or online platforms. We don't have that directly addressed in this, and this would be a one-time only. We're not changing the policy.
I struggle with the what your reply in terms of operating expenses. If you're providing a climate of safety, and that does require PPE or sanitizing supplies, that's already included in our policy we have in place in that aspect, because that is one of the things that you would need to offer to your residents and community. I just feel it's asking for what we've already got in place when you look at our policy that we had back in May 2019.
Okay, thank you for
Mr.
that. Yep, no, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor and Councillor Lee, there's no place where safety is referenced.
I believe your strategic goals, number 8, Town of Bruderheim strategic goals, providing climate of safety for individuals, homes, neighborhoods, public places. Would that not incorporate your supplies you need? It's in our policy.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's not directly in the Community Investment Program policy. It's in our strategic plan. Is that what you're referring to, Councillor Lee?
Well, actually, on the Bruderheim Community Investment Program, the applicants have to utilize or be able to say that they're utilizing something of our Bruderheim strategic goals, and that's part of the program application. Yeah,
so if I might interject here, I think it's pretty clear that this is a one-time to help folks out, to be able to adjust. And so that's where we're kind of bending the rules by the sounds of it. And I'd like to hear some more from other councillors, if that's okay. I think your position is quite clear.
All right.
Councillor Wayne, hold on. I think Councillor Wayne had his hand up first. Or am I...
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point that this will be sent out to all the organizations, and is that correct if it goes through? So they're
Mr.
aware.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that is correct. I've reached out to some of the nonprofits and just seeing how they're doing And a lot are looking at screening and barriers and what cleaning will look like. And they're definitely finding that a struggle with not being able to have held their events this summer as well, to fundraise. And you know, even you look at the Preschool Association and the Girl Guides and the BMSAs and the Seniors Club and the Ag Society, we would be sending all of that out to them, and that it may not be. I'm just saying I would like to be able to, for them, typically we wouldn't pay for any modifications to buildings or, right, for it's community investment is about enhancing the opportunities for residents. So, and you're right, Councillor Lee's right, we can reference our strategic goals and plans, but I don't think it's clearly stated in the investment program when we're marketing it that way.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Did the question that you asked got answered sufficiently?
Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so we're just clarifying because evidently a lot haven't reached out to you, seeing if they could put, you know, apply for money through this community investment for that COVID-19. So we're just kind of clarifying and helping them maybe think outside the box of where they can get some of this money.
So Mr. Mayor, through Deputy Mayor, that's right. Yeah, I just want to send out an email and say, hey guys, you know, we could also use this opportunity to help you get going. And because we do want the community groups to start thinking about how else they could deliver programming. That might mean purchasing Zoom, for example. There's a $25 a month charge for that if you want to go over 40 minutes, right? So just things like that that might not be in their budget and that we could support with.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor George.
Just one thing to say that I think our CAO did a wise thing by presenting this here. It gives the town a tool to work with and also a guideline for the community groups in which to apply. I think it was it's a good idea that we implement this, and due to the fact that we have COVID-19 and a way to work around that our situation right now. It's not going to be for a long time. It's going to be for whatever time it takes for this to be turned around. I have to thank CAO Patty for presenting this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor George. Any other comments or questions from council? Haven't heard from everybody yet.
Right, just kind of on this topic, how is the town doing for supplies for public works, for administration? How are they doing with supplies?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Aleko, we're doing okay. I'm watching the radar. As you know, some of our eastern neighbors are starting to implement some stronger legislation. I'm a little worried that if some of that legislation comes out west, we'll have the toilet paper fiasco. So we're starting to see masks, gloves, gowns, cleaning supplies more readily available. But again, what is the right balance to stockpile based on use? Our masks at the Public Works are being used pretty fast, but Costco and Walmart are both stocking those now. So hopefully that continues. And so far so good. But as you know, every day the government could change the way we do business. So.
Okay, thank you. Perfect.
Like I say, glass is definitely a hot item right now. Yeah.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? I have a couple points I wanted to raise. I find it proactive approach to looking to do this. However, did any organizations from in town come to the town asking for this?
Mr. Mayor, no.
Okay. And when you reached out to them, did any of them feel like that they might be able to make use of this bend in the program?
Mr. Mayor, I didn't talk to any nonprofits about this. I wanted to come to council first. But we have been touching base with our nonprofits, and a few have expressed concern. And we've been trying to help source for them some supplies and ideas. But our community investment program is intended to support community activities. which we know in the next year are going to be pretty limited, or take on a new look, as we know our council meetings have, and there's costs that go, and it was just an idea I had to support. Again, Councillor Lee is correct. There's a lot that you can read into the program. I just wanted to have council's approval to kind of reach out and say, you know what, have you guys thought about this?
Okay, and the other question I wanted to ask is, Shell Scotford has come out with a program to support organizations with help with funding due to COVID. Did the town apply, or did we try to help advertise to organizations in town that program?
Mr. Mayor, I did apply for 5,000 and we sent the application to the nonprofits in town.
Okay, so they did have an opportunity to apply for that as well.
Yes, correct.
And I think the maximum was 5,000 if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that information. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Haven't heard none. Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Aye. So that's 3 opposed and 4 in favor, is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, maybe we could do one by one,
Right.
so make sure Sherry gets it correct.
How about do you have the gallery view on? You can see a show of hands there, Patty?
I can't see it. Just let me close my chat.
If we could do an individual one, Carl, that would work.
Yeah, I just hold on and see if she can see the.
Can you see it, Sherry? Oh, Sherry can see it. I can't.
Okay, so those in favor, please raise your hand. So there's 5 in favor, and those opposed? There's 2. Okay, so the motion is carried. Thank you. And we move on to the next one, organizational meeting of council date change.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to provide council with information for consideration for changing the date for the organizational meeting of council to be held in October 2020. The town council direct administration to change the date of the organizational meeting of council to October 14, 2020. Strategic plan areas, a community is educated on the responsibilities and limitation of council and administration. Other impacts, Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 192. Except in a summer village, a council must hold an organizational meeting annually, not later than 2 weeks after the 3rd Monday in October. In previous years, the organizational meeting of council was held on the 3rd Wednesday of the month of October prior to the regular meeting of council held on the same evening. The meetings commenced at 7 p.m. In 2019, council requested that the organizational meeting of council start at 6:30 and the regular meeting of council commence at 7:30. Council feedback was preference would be to plan a separate meeting night for the organization meeting of council. If approved, information about the organization meeting of council date will be advertised on the website, social media, and town signs.
I had to unmute my mic there. Our dog was barking. So looking for a motion to approve the council meeting date change in October. Anyone willing to make that motion?
I'll make that.
Motion.
Councilor Pat?
I move the town council directs administration to change the date of the organizational meeting of council to October 14th, 2020.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council on that motion? What day of the week is October 14th?
Wednesday, Mr. Mayor.
The Wednesday? Okay, thanks. And it'll be the same time?
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council on that motion?
So the month of October would be 3 meetings, is that right? Okay.
Okay. No more questions or comments or concerns. Call for a vote. All those in favor, just raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
The motion's carried. Thank you. And none opposed. So the next one is 8.5, appointment of Newman Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is recommended that council officially appoint a legal counsel. That town council approve the appointment of Newman Thompson LLP as a legal counsel in the area of labor and employment law for the town of Bruderheim. On October 23rd, 2019, council appointed Brown Lee as legal counsel for municipal law expertise and Shores Jaden LLP as legal counsel for planning and development expertise for the town of Bruderheim. Strategic plan areas. A community is educated on responsibilities and limitation of council and administration. The town of Bruderheim has historically utilized Brown Lee LLP as their lawyers as they specialize in municipal law. In October 2020, council appointed Shores Jardine LLP to assist with planning and development expertise. Currently, we have a need to utilize a lawyer that has labor and employment law expertise. Communication plan. The staff will be made aware of names of legal counsel changes approved by town council.
Just had to unmute my mic. It was getting some feedback there. So thanks for that. Looking for a motion from council to approve the appointment of Newman Thompson.
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor.
The town council approved the appointment of Newman Thompson LLP as legal counsel in the area of law and employment law for the town of Bruderheim.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, please unmute your mic and Councillor George and Councillor Pat, could you mute yours? And could somebody unmute Councillor Len's mic?
I got it. Anyways, I have a question. What is the cost of this? Is there a cost for at the present time?
Mr. Mayor, there's no cost unless you use services. It's becoming more of a practice municipal law in municipalities to go for lawyers that have certain expertise in certain areas.
Does that answer your sufficiently your question, Councillor Len?
Yeah, I didn't want to see if it's paying a retainer fee for something we might not use.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from council on this motion? So this appointing this legal counsel, it's just for specifically labor and employment law that we'll be using this. We can still use other lawyers for other areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. We could also use Brown Lee for employment if we wanted to as well.
Yeah, so it doesn't hamper us if we've got something else not related to these fields.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If there's any other questions from council, or we can move to vote on this. Looks like we can move to vote on. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Reports, council committee reports. Looking for a motion to approve or no, receive the council committee reports as information. Would someone be willing to make that motion? Councillor Pat.
I move that town council receive the council committee reports as information.
Thank you for that, Councillor Pat. Any comments or questions or concerns from council with the council committee reports? Okay, haven't heard none. Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. And looking for a motion to receive the mayor report as information.
I can make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
The council receive, I make a motion that council receive the mayor's report as information.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with the motion on the mayor report? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Motion's carried. Looking for now a motion to receive the CAO report as information. Somebody
I'll make
now?
that motion.
Okay, thanks, Councillor George.
I'll make a motion that we receive the GAO report as information as presented.
Thank you. Is there any comments, questions, concerns with the CAO report motion? Councillor Wayne.
No, just a comment in regards to the Canada Day Parade. Awesome job. It turned out really well. A lot of residents liked it. I think everybody I talked to liked it and they prefer it that way. Just so that's easier for them to, some of them just get home from work. They can sit down in their front yard and watch it. It's not as packed downtown. It's a longer venture. So a lot of them really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for thinking of that. And making it happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion?
I have a couple.
Councillor George.
One was with the leaking roofs. Are we able to repair them problems within our budget, or?
So, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, we have a person coming out, a roof specialist, to look at the 2 roofs and give us an estimate. And I'll know at that time. If it's something serious, no, we won't have it in the budget. If it's something that is a quick repair, yes. We have a certain amount of money we put in for building maintenance every year. So if it's a small fix, then we're okay. But if it's something major structurally, then we'll have to come to council for options to fund that repair.
And another one, meetings with Alberta Transportation, how is that going?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, that's going really well, actually. Next week, we're having another meeting, so we're making progress.
Sounds like we might get something happening.
Oh, no. We just want to get in the queue. That's our goal for them to say that we're on the list. So yeah, nothing will happen this year. That's for sure.
Working the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that answered your question sufficiently, Councillor George?
Yes, it did.
Councillor Wayne?
Yeah, just in regards to the window at the town office, are there any plans or anything, I guess, or is it part of the cost to repair the painting that's on the wall? Is that going to be cleaned up, taken off, or something?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Alecko, we are going to touch it up with blue paint this year, and we'll look at something more permanent next year. We just weren't sure what the costs would be involved to actually fix.
Yep.
And I think I would feel more comfortable going through an entire season to make sure we got it before we do something to permanently fix that wall. So we'll touch up all the areas, we'll sand them off and paint them with blue the best we can. And we'll look at something more permanent next year.
Perfect, thank you. Another question is, with all this rain we've had in the last little while, how is Public Works getting on and maintaining the town and making sure things are caught up, and how are they doing?
They're doing good. We have a number of things that keep them busy inside as well as outside. So when the sun shines, they run out, do their thing, which is amazing. I think, thank you for noticing. I drove around too on last weekend, this weekend. I think our town looks really well. Councillor Falardo and myself were talking about earlier that the town, considering the amount of water that we've got, I think it looks really good.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Again, the back alleys, any gravel, those are obviously on hold. Anything you do, if you get on those surfaces, you actually make it worse. So we're staying off those surfaces. As soon as we get some sun, we'll look at any gravel surface roads.
Okay. And how is the office doing with the new protocols in place for the front door?
I think we're doing okay. We haven't had any concerns. Residents are like coming in again. Of course, after every resident comes in and out, we have to thoroughly clean any surface they touched. And as well, we can only have one customer at a time because we can't keep them 2 meters apart in that small waiting area. I think people are really good. I actually think people are pretty incredible in our community. Everybody's adjusting to the new way of doing business, and we got through that crazy tax utility season without any complaints about the way we're doing business. So, and the staff is feeling comfortable with the new, as you know, we have a button that opens the door and from the inside, so they actually don't have to come from behind the plexiglass to deal with residents and customers. So staff's feeling a lot more protected that way. So that I'm happy for.
Perfect.
And thank you to Deputy Mayor Schuler for finding us the plexiglass, because we'd hit a dead end and she found a sheet.
Great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Does that answer your question sufficiently, Councillor Wayne?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions on this motion for council? Just one question, CEO Patty, on the water leaks that we were talking about on those roofs. any early indications if they're structurally related or just small leaks, or there must be some kind of thoughts?
Unfortunately, no, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and the costs on the window, did they come in under what you were thinking so far, or how does that look?
Mr. Mayor, the initial, we haven't got all the bills, but I think we're going to hit it in around $10,000, and we had budgeted 25, which was funded by reserves though, right? Not by taxes. So yeah, it would be nice that if we only had to take 10 instead of 25 from reserves.
Pays for a lot of paint. Okay, thank you very
Well,
much.
we wouldn't do that, Mr. Mayor, because that's from reserves, right?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with this motion? I haven't heard none. Call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion's carried. Great, thank you very much. Correspondence and information items. I received in my mail from the town office today the annual Alberta Care Conference, September 9th to 11th in Pincher Creek. We'll see if it actually goes ahead or not, and I've got the folder of information. And I think that's about it for correspondence. I do have a water commission meeting tomorrow and received the package of information. There is something on the agenda affecting Bruderheim. The new building at the town shop was built so that it was close to the space for the commission water line. So that was brought up that it'll be on the agenda for the meeting tomorrow to discuss that. So I just wanted to make our council aware of that. It is not interfering or impeding with the access for the commission on the water line. I just wanted to let you guys know that, and we'll see what comes from the meeting tomorrow. And that's it for correspondence. I guess we're looking for a motion to go to closed session, or out of public session to closed session. Does council want to have a comfort break for 5 minutes first? To get a glass of water or anything? Everybody's good? We're good. Okay, so looking for a motion to go out of the public session then?
I'll put that forward.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that we go out of the public session.
Okay. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 And the motion's carried. Great. So now we need a motion to go into a closed session.
To go into closed session.
Thank you, Councillor Wing. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion?
Are we going to be going offline for this?
As soon as we make a motion to go closed session, if you just give me a minute, we'll end the Facebook Live. Thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone. So we just hold on a minute for voting, or how would you like to do this, CAO Pat?
We're probably going to vote for